Now, a new author come to meet you because maybe he or she has written a book but doesn't know how to get it out to the world. How do you help this person? Hello and welcome to Obehi Podcast. I'm your host, Obehi A14, and I strongly believe that everyone has a story to share. Now let's get started with this episode.
We would obviously consult with them, we'd meet with them, we'd try to find out what their objectives are in terms of their market, their audience, what they plan to do with the book. And then from there, we would consult with them and give them sort of tips and knowledge of what we have used that has worked for us in being able to publicly promote and market their books.
I've heard recently, maybe you have also heard too, of people complaining that readership have reduced a lot, that people don't read anymore. Why are you even in the book industry? You should be looking to do something else, no? I don't know if you have heard something like that. So what is your own reaction?
I don't know if I agree with that. I suppose each person, there are some people that don't read. There are some people that listen to audio. So could it be that readership has gone to audio and that people are more listening to narration rather than reading for themselves? So that could be a thing. Audio book sales has really come up loads. So whereas people have got very busy, owing to, various things, a pandemic, etc., people probably don't have as much time to read, but you can set aside time to do it. And if not, there are other ways, like in terms of the audio side of things. And also as well, lots of books have turned into TV movies, etc. So people tend to kind of read those, which is I would say, a watered down version of getting to understand a story. But I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I would just say that people probably do it differently now. But I would say this: the only way to learn something is to read.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Of course, people need to understand that things are always changing. In fact, there is a saying that this world not really is lost. Things always change, no? We only transform things, and we even transform ourselves. And so if you don't like to take a book and start turning pages, you can still listen in audio.
And it's probably the most, I would say, even as a writer, it's probably the most important job to have, within society, because you change narrative, and so forth. So yes, very important skill to have.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, how do we get people into this business of writing, of documentation? I want to repeat again that in our demography, which is the African diaspora or Africans as it were, it is very important for us for many reasons, but let's point out a few things. You left your home country, looking at the first generation now. You have come to the West, for example, which is the typical case. You have lived all your life here, and you're probably going to die here for most people, no? Who is going to tell your story? You think you don't have experience? You have gathered enough experience that can be very interesting for people to hear or listen or read on paper. But of course, the mainstream media are not interested in your story, except maybe you go and kill somebody, or you do a kind of Maradona job, or you do extraordinary thing, then your name will come out on paper. But for the average person, whom I believe that their story is equally important, how do we get them to be interested in telling their story?
Well, to be honest with you, I think that for every author, they have a responsibility. How publicly available their book is, or how many sales they made, or how many people read their book, is really down to the author to pass on that information. It's really their area of responsibility to ensure that people are aware of their book. So they can do that in a variety of ways, whether it be advertising, or whether it be just through word of mouth or social media, and it's consistency as well. It doesn't matter how your book is going to be here. Once it's out in the public domain, whether you are here or not, that book is still out there. It will still sell. And I think, just like with anything really, you tend to find that probably after people are no longer with us, like looking at people like Shakespeare, who's probably one of the most prolific writers of around the world, he's taught everywhere or mentioned everywhere, but he didn't become very famous until after his passing. So it's not as if nobody will read the book. But whilst you are alive and, and are able to inform people about your book, you have a duty and an onus to do so. By spreading the word.
Yeah. You have a duty to do so. A duty to yourself and also the generation that are going to come after you.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. It's very interesting. Okay, now let's look at the capability, because everybody have story to tell. In fact, we specifically state here that everyone has a story to share, but not everybody know how to share. Now, you made mention of outsourcing before. Now, let's leave that aside. We'll come to that later. You made mention of academy, something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Is there a way that you teach people how to write, how to narrate their story? Tell me about that.
Yes, there is. I mean, there is a way. I would say to come through the academy to find out. But basically, over the course of 12 weeks, we show you how to turn a blank page into a very popular, best-selling book. So we give you all the skills, to learn how to write, to learn how to do it quickly so you can get the book done. Sometimes it can take people up to a year, I've understood. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people just put out one book a year. But you can write a book. We can show you ways of how to write them a lot quicker than that. Within a matter of weeks. If we can even show you how to write a book in a weekend if you really need to. So we can give you all those skills. We can show you how to edit your piece, how to proofread, how to design covers, book covers, illustrations, and how to market and advertise a book as well. But you would need to be a part of our academy for us to show you those skills.
All right. Now let's look at the people that are coming from raw state now. Those who probably have something upstairs but do not know how to do it. Now, say maybe they even have the desire. So the question now is the problem. So what do they complain to you that is stopping them from writing their book so that you help them at the end of the day?
I think it's a lack of experience, a lack of confidence maybe. Like myself, there was only one person that ever encouraged me to do what I'm doing today. And, so it could be just by those people not being in the right, or not having the right industry knowledge or knowing who to approach within the industry. Sometimes they found that they have written and they get frustrated. But I would encourage people to write every day, in order to sort of meet their ambitions in terms of wanting to be an author. Just write every day. It doesn't have to be, when you write, it doesn't have to be perfect. But obviously by the time it's published, it would be.
If you enjoy this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi Podcast and share with your friends who might need it. I remain Obehi Ewafo. Thank you so much for listening and talk to you in the next episode.